Imagine waking up today, realizing that the key to your true happiness has been within reach all along, right here, right now, not locked away in some distant future or buried beneath the weight of past regrets. This isn't just a fleeting thought. It's a profound Stoic truth waiting to transform your life. In this journey, we'll dive deep into the liberating power of living entirely in the present moment, shedding the chains of guilt, resentment, and the endless what-ifs that keep us prisoners of our own history. Drawing from the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, we'll discover how happiness begins and ends in the quality of our thoughts, the silent dialogue that shapes every experience. But it's not about erasing your past or pretending pain never existed. It's about embracing forgiveness, not as an excuse for mistakes, but as a radical act of releasing yourself from burdens no longer serving you. Through the practice of gratitude, you will see how shifting your gaze from what's missing to all that is abundant around you can realign your entire outlook, feeding contentment and sparking resilience. Will confront the tough but necessary art of setting boundaries, learning that saying no is not rejection, but a fierce defense of your inner peace and dignity. Prepare to journey through your emotional landscape, facing old wounds with courage and transforming them into stepping stones of strength. Understand that happiness is not some elusive endpoint, but a deliberate daily choice, crafted through sacrifice, failure, and relentless growth. Here, failure doesn't trap you. It educates and fortifies you, pushing you beyond the comfort zone where real life and real joy begin. By the time this message settles in your mind, you'll be poised not just to chase happiness, but to claim it actively, intentionally, and with unwavering resolve. Because in this moment, it's never too late to awaken, to grow, and to choose the freedom of your true happiness. If this is making sense to you so far, if these words are resonating with a quiet truth you felt stirring within, please take a moment to like the video and share it with someone who truly needs to hear this message. It helps us reach more people seeking clarity and inner strength. We've talked about the profound realization that happiness isn't a prize to be won in some distant future, but a deliberate choice available to us right here, right now. It's about shedding the heavy cloak of past regrets and the endless what-ifs that chain us to a history we can no longer change. But how do we actually do this? How do we untangle ourselves from the invisible threads of yesterday and the anxious projections of tomorrow? The answer, as Marcus Aurelius so eloquently taught, lies in the arena of our own mind, in the quality of the thoughts we choose to entertain. The arena of the mind, cultivating the quality of thought. Imagine your mind not as a passive recipient of external stimuli, but as a meticulously guarded garden. Every thought is a seed. Some are weeds of worry, comparison, and doubt, sown by societal expectations or past grievances. Others are vibrant, resilient plants of contentment, courage, and purpose. The Stoics understood that we are the gardeners. We don't always control which seeds are blown in by the winds of circumstance, but we absolutely control which ones we nurture, which ones we allow to take root, and which ones we pull out before they choke the life out of our inner peace. This isn't about positive thinking in a superficial sense, ignoring problems or sugarcoating harsh realities. That would be naive, even dangerous. Instead, it's about active thought management. It's recognizing that between a stimulus and your response lies your power. A challenging email lands in your inbox. A friend cancels plans. Traffic grinds to a halt. The event itself is external. indifferent. What isn't indifferent is your internal dialogue about it. Do you immediately spiral into anger, frustration, self-pity? Or do you pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, is this truly within my control? What is the most rational, virtuous response I can offer here? Think about a common modern anxiety, the relentless scroll through social media. You see curated highlights of others' lives, their triumphs, their perfect vacations, their seemingly effortless success. Automatically, your mind might start drawing comparisons. I'm not doing enough. My life isn't as exciting. Why don't I have that? This is the mind at work, but it's working against you, constructing a narrative of inadequacy. A Stoic approach would involve an immediate interception of that thought. This is an impression, you'd tell yourself. It's not an objective truth about my worth. I am comparing my full, unedited reality to someone else's carefully constructed highlight reel. Is this comparison productive? Is it helping me cultivate peace or joy? No. By doing so, you're not denying what you saw. You're refusing to let it poison your inner landscape. You're weeding out the thought before it takes root. The Stoic practice of distinguishing between what is within our control and what is not, the dichotomy of control, is perhaps the most powerful tool in shaping the quality of our thoughts. Most of our suffering comes from expending mental and emotional energy on things utterly beyond our influence. Other people's opinions, the weather, past events, future uncertainties. When we mentally categorize these things as outside my control, a profound shift occurs. We release the futile struggle, redirecting that precious energy inward, towards our judgments, our desires, our actions, the only true domain of our freedom. Consider the pervasive modern habit of rumination, replaying past slights or mistakes. I shouldn't have said that. Why did I do that? They must think less of me. This internal loop is a prison built by your own mind. The Stoic asks, can I change that past event? No. Can I learn from it and apply that lesson to future actions? Yes. Does dwelling on it serve any purpose other than causing me distress right now? The answer is clear. The past is gone. Your power lies in the present moment, in choosing a new thought, a new action, a new path forward. This isn't about ignoring consequences. It's about ceasing to flog yourself with a dead stick. This daily vigilance over our thoughts isn't easy. It requires consistent effort, like a muscle that grows stronger with use. It means challenging our automatic assumptions, questioning our first emotional reactions, and deliberately choosing a more rational, more virtuous interpretation of events. It means taking responsibility, not just for our actions, but for the internal narrative that precedes and accompanies them. This is where happiness truly begins and ends, in the sanctuary of your own mind, cultivated by the relentless pursuit of clarity and wisdom. Forgiveness as liberation, releasing the chains of the past. One of the heaviest burdens we carry, often unknowingly, is the weight of unforgiveness. This isn't just about forgiving others for perceived wrongs. It's also, crucially, about forgiving ourselves. The premise touched upon forgiveness as a radical act of releasing yourself from burdens no longer serving you. Let's delve deeper into what this means from a Stoic perspective. Many people view forgiveness as condoning an action, as letting someone off the hook. But this is a fundamental misunderstanding. Forgiveness, in the Stoic sense, is not about absolving the perpetrator. It's about liberating the prisoner. And that prisoner is you. When you hold on to resentment, anger, or bitterness, who is truly suffering? The person you resent is often entirely unaware or unaffected. You, however, are carrying a heavy, toxic emotional load, allowing that past event and the person associated with it to continue to poison your present moment. Seneca, another great Stoic, implicitly taught that anger is a temporary madness. He argued that it clouds our judgment, leads to irrational actions, and ultimately harms us more than the object of our anger. Resentment is a slow-burning form of anger, a persistent internal inflammation that prevents genuine peace. When you forgive, you're not saying, "What you did was okay." You're saying, "I refuse to let what you did continue to dictate my emotional state and my quality of life." You're reclaiming your inner peace, detaching your well-being from the actions of others, past or present. Consider a situation where someone has deeply wronged you, perhaps a betrayal of trust by a friend or a family member. The pain is real, the injustice felt. Forgiveness here doesn't mean you automatically welcome them back into your life or forget the lesson learned. It means you consciously decide to stop replaying the scene in your mind, to stop feeding the narrative of victimhood, to stop allowing that incident to define your relationships or your sense of self-worth. You acknowledge the hurt, but you refuse to let it fester into a perpetual wound. You recognize that holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And what about forgiving ourselves? This is often the most difficult form of forgiveness. We replay our mistakes, our poor choices, our moments of weakness, punishing ourselves relentlessly. I should have known better. I messed up. I am a failure. This self-flagellation serves no constructive purpose. While learning from mistakes is vital, endless self-recrimination is a destructive pattern that traps us in the past. The Stoic approach to self-forgiveness is rooted in the understanding that we acted, in that moment, with the best judgment we possessed at the time. We are fallible human beings, striving for virtue, but prone to error. Rather than dwelling on the should-have been, we acknowledge the past action, analyze the decision-making process that led to it, extract the lesson, and then consciously release the accompanying guilt or shame. It's about accepting your humanity, recognizing that growth comes from recognizing and moving past imperfections, not from being perfect. Imagine a student who fails an exam. They can either berate themselves endlessly, falling into despair and self-pity, or they can acknowledge the failure, analyze where they went wrong, learn from it, and then apply themselves with renewed determination to the next challenge. The latter is the path of Stoic self-forgiveness and growth. It's not an excuse, it's a strategy for progress. By embracing forgiveness, both for others and for ourselves, we perform a profound act of liberation. We cut the emotional cords that bind us to grievances, resentments, and guilt, freeing up immense mental and emotional energy that can then be channeled into building a more virtuous, peaceful, and present life. This isn't about weakness, it's about strategic strength, a conscious choice to disarm the internal enemies of your peace. The abundance mindset, the radical act of gratitude. The human mind has a built-in negativity bias. It's a survival mechanism, always scanning for threats, focusing on what's wrong, what's missing, what could go wrong. While this might have kept our ancestors safe from saber-toothed tigers, in the modern world, it often manifests as chronic dissatisfaction, a perpetual sense of lack, and an inability to appreciate the abundant good around us. This is where gratitude, far from being a mere polite sentiment, becomes a radical Stoic practice. The premise beautifully states, shifting your gaze from what's missing to all that is abundant around you can realign your entire outlook. The Stoics understood that true wealth isn't measured by what you acquire, but by what you appreciate. Seneca observed, "He is rich who is content with the least, for contentment is the natural wealth." This isn't just about being thankful for the obvious blessings, like health or loved ones, though those are certainly crucial. It's about cultivating a deep appreciation for the ordinary, the things we often take for granted until they are gone. Think about the simple act of breathing. We do it thousands of times a day without conscious thought. Yet, for someone with respiratory illness, each breath is a precious gift. The warmth of your home, the clean water from your tap, the ability to walk or see, the readily available food in your kitchen, the comfort of a quiet morning. These are profound privileges that billions across the globe lack. Gratitude, in its purest form, is recognizing these commonplace wonders and allowing them to fill you with a sense of quiet contentment. But crucially, they choose not to let what is lacking overshadow what is present. They actively seek out reasons for gratitude, even in difficult circumstances. This is where the Stoic idea of finding the obstacle is the way comes into play. When faced with a setback, a lost job, a broken relationship, a health scare, our initial instinct might be despair. A Stoic, however, might consciously seek out the lessons, the unexpected opportunities, the hidden strengths that are revealed only through adversity. Perhaps losing a job forces you to reevaluate your career path, leading you to discover a true passion. Perhaps a broken relationship teaches you valuable lessons about communication or self-worth. Perhaps a health scare forces you to prioritize your well-being in a way you never did before. In these moments, gratitude isn't about being thankful for the setback itself, but being thankful for the wisdom, resilience, and growth it ultimately facilitated. It's about reframing the narrative from "this bad thing happened to me" to "this challenging event revealed new paths and strengths within me." Practically, cultivating gratitude can take many forms. A simple gratitude journal, where you list 3 to 5 things you're genuinely thankful for each day, can profoundly shift your perspective over time. It trains your mind to scan for the positive, to appreciate the small victories, and the quiet comforts. It can be a morning ritual, a moment of reflection before a meal, or a conscious pause during a busy day to simply observe and appreciate your surroundings. This radical act of gratitude is a powerful antidote to the pervasive modern sense of dissatisfaction fueled by endless wanting. It reminds us that enough is often more than we realize, and that true contentment arises not from accumulating more, but from appreciating what we already have. It's a profound shift from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset, feeding contentment and sparking resilience, anchoring you firmly in the richness of the present moment. Fortifying your inner citadel, the power of boundaries. In a world that constantly demands our attention, our time, and our energy, the concept of boundaries has become more critical than ever. We're bombarded by notifications, requests, and expectations from every direction: work, family, friends, social media. Without clear boundaries, we risk becoming fragmented, overwhelmed, and ultimately losing our inner peace. The premise highlighted that saying no is not rejection, but a fierce defense of your inner peace and dignity. This is profoundly Stoic, directly connecting to the dichotomy of control and the protection of our most sacred possession, our prohairesis, our inner faculty of choice and judgment. The Stoics taught us to distinguish between what is truly ours to control, our judgments, impulses, desires, and actions, and what is external and therefore indifferent. Our inner peace, our tranquility, our ability to live virtuously, these are entirely within our control, provided we guard them diligently. Setting boundaries is precisely this act of guarding. It's recognizing that your time, your energy, and your mental space are finite and precious resources, and you are the sole steward responsible for their allocation. Think about the modern dilemma of being always on. Work emails arrive at all hours, social obligations feel endless, and the pressure to respond immediately to every message is immense. If you don't set boundaries around your work hours, your personal time, or your digital interactions, you effectively cede control of your peace to external demands. You become reactive rather than proactive. A Stoic approach would involve consciously deciding when and how you engage. This might mean turning off work notifications after a certain hour, dedicating specific times to check social media, or even politely declining social invitations that don't align with your values or energy levels. Saying no can feel uncomfortable, especially if you're accustomed to being a people pleaser. There's often a fear of offending, of disappointing, of being perceived as uncooperative. But a refusal born of protecting your inner peace is not an act of selfishness. It's an act of self-respect and wisdom. It's a recognition that you cannot pour from an empty cup, and that to be truly present and effective in the areas that do matter to you, you must safeguard your reserves. Consider the person who constantly overcommits. They agree to extra work projects, volunteer for every committee, say yes to every social event, even when they're already exhausted. They may feel a temporary surge of external validation, but internally, they're crumbling. Their mental clarity diminishes, their energy wanes, and their ability to genuinely contribute where it matters most is compromised. This is a failure to protect the inner citadel. Setting boundaries isn't about building walls against the world. It's about defining the permeable membrane of yourself. It's about clearly communicating what you can and cannot do, what you will and will not tolerate, and what you need to thrive. It's a courageous act because it requires self-awareness, conviction, and the willingness to potentially face the discomfort of someone else's disappointment. But remember, their disappointment is their reaction, not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to your own moral compass, your own virtue, and your own well-being. Practically, boundaries can look like time boundaries. I check emails between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. only. My evenings are reserved for family and personal reflection. I can't take on that extra project right now, as I need to prioritize my current responsibilities. I need some alone time to recharge before the weekend. Emotional boundaries. I understand you're upset, but I'm not able to absorb that level of negativity right now. I prefer not to discuss that topic. Affair boundaries. I'm muting notifications during dinner. I'm taking a social media detox this week. Each no to an external demand is a yes to your inner tranquility, your capacity for virtue, and your deliberate choice of how you wish to live. It's an affirmation of your dignity and a fierce defense of your right to cultivate a life aligned with your deepest values. This powerful act of self-stewardship is not only crucial for your happiness, but also allows you to show up more fully, authentically, and sustainably for the people and causes you truly care about. Embracing adversity, the crucible of growth. The premise eloquently states, here, failure doesn't trap you. It educates and fortifies you, pushing you beyond the comfort zone where real life and real joy begin. This encapsulates a core Stoic teaching, amor fati, the love of fate, not in a passive, fatalistic sense, but as an active embrace of everything that happens, recognizing it as an integral part of the grand design of existence and an opportunity for growth. We live in a culture that often promotes the avoidance of discomfort, the pursuit of ease, and the celebration of uninterrupted success. But the Stoics knew that true strength, wisdom, and resilience are forged in the fires of adversity. It is in the face of struggle, setback, and pain that our character is truly tested and developed. Without these challenges, we would remain soft, untested, and ultimately unable to fully appreciate the depths of our own potential. Think of an athlete. They don't become strong by avoiding the gym or skipping difficult training sessions. They become strong by pushing their limits, by experiencing muscle fatigue, by enduring the discomfort of growth. Each failure to lift a certain weight, each missed shot, each lost competition is not an endpoint, but a data point, a lesson, a catalyst for improvement. The same principle applies to life. A significant career setback, for instance, can feel devastating. The loss of a job, a failed business venture, a rejected promotion. These are moments that can shake us to our core. Our modern inclination might be to wallow in self-pity, blame external factors, or become consumed by anxiety about the future. A Stoic, however, would approach this with a different mindset. This has happened, they would acknowledge, without judgment or emotional overreaction. It is now part of my fate. What can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to become stronger, more adaptable, more resourceful? Perhaps the job loss forces you to reevaluate your skills, leading you to pursue further education or pivot to an entirely new field you hadn't considered. Perhaps the failed business teaches you invaluable lessons about market strategy or financial management that will be crucial for your next venture. The failure itself isn't the problem. It's our interpretation of it. If we see it as a definitive end, we are trapped. If we see it as a rigorous teacher, a necessary step in a longer journey, we are liberated and fortified. This embrace of adversity extends to personal struggles, illness, loss, and the many unexpected twists and turns of life. None of us are immune to suffering. The Stoics don't promise a life free of pain, but they promise a way to navigate it with dignity, courage, and wisdom. When faced with illness, instead of asking, "Why me?" a Stoic might ask, "Given this reality, what is the most virtuous way I can respond? How can I maintain my equanimity? How can I still contribute, even in this diminished capacity?" This doesn't mean denying the pain or the difficulty. It means refusing to let it break your spirit or compromise your inner integrity. Amor fati is not passive resignation. It is active acceptance. It's the willingness to not only endure what happens, but to actively incorporate it into your understanding of life, to see its necessity in the grand scheme, and to transform it into a source of strength. Marcus Aurelius spoke of how the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This profound insight reminds us that the very things that seem to block our path are often the precise elements needed to propel us forward, to stretch us, and to reveal capabilities we never knew we possessed. When we intentionally step outside our comfort zones, we encounter resistance, uncertainty, and the very real possibility of failure. But it is precisely in this discomfort that real life unfolds, and where real joy, the deep, abiding satisfaction of growth and overcoming can be found. It's the joy of knowing you faced a challenge head-on, that you didn't crumble, that you learned, adapted, and emerged stronger. This journey through the crucible of growth is not merely about surviving. It's about thriving, about discovering the unwavering resilience of your own spirit, and understanding that every scar tells a story of strength. The daily practice, choosing happiness, one moment at a time. We've journeyed through the landscape of the mind, explored the liberation of forgiveness, cultivated the radical act of gratitude, fortified our inner citadel with boundaries, and embraced adversity as a catalyst for growth. But these are not isolated concepts. They are interwoven threads that form the fabric of a Stoic life. A life where happiness is not some elusive endpoint, but a deliberate daily choice. The premise promised that you'll be poised not just to chase happiness, but to claim it actively, intentionally, and with unwavering resolve. This claiming is not a one-time event. It's a continuous, conscious engagement with the present moment, informed by these timeless Stoic principles. It's the realization that while external circumstances will forever be in flux, your internal state, your eudaimonia, or flourishing, is largely a construct of your own making, nurtured through consistent practice. Imagine waking up each day not with a blank slate, but with a toolkit of mental disciplines ready to be deployed. Your first act might be a moment of gratitude, acknowledging the simple fact of another day, another opportunity to practice virtue. As challenges arise, a frustrating commute, a difficult conversation, an unexpected setback, you immediately apply the dichotomy of control. Is this within my control? No. Then I will focus on my response. You intercept negative thoughts before they take root, choosing rational interpretations over emotional reactions. You practice forgiveness, releasing the grip of past grievances and the burden of self-recrimination. You guard your time and energy with clear boundaries, ensuring you have the mental space to think, reflect, and live purposefully. And when failure inevitably knocks, you greet it not as a defeat, but as a seasoned mentor, ready to impart its next invaluable lesson. This isn't about living a life devoid of emotion or striving. It's about living with intentionality, clarity, and an unshakable inner calm amidst the inevitable chaos of the modern world. It's about understanding that happiness isn't the absence of problems, but the presence of meaning, purpose, and a virtuous response to whatever life throws your way. It's crafted through sacrifice, the sacrifice of instant gratification for long-term wisdom, the sacrifice of comfort for growth, the sacrifice of external validation for internal integrity. It is forged through failure, which teaches us humility, resilience, and adaptability. And it is sustained by relentless growth, the continuous striving to become a better, wiser, more virtuous human being. The freedom of your true happiness is found in this active, intentional engagement with life. It is the freedom from being tossed about by every external event, every fleeting emotion, every societal expectation. It is the freedom to choose your response, to shape your character, to live in alignment with reason and virtue. This freedom is available to you, not tomorrow, not when you achieve a certain goal, but right now, in this very moment, because in this moment, it's never too late to awaken. It's never too late to realize that the power to choose your happiness has been within you all along. It's never too late to grow, to shed the old narratives, and to step into a life of profound presence and purpose. It's never too late to choose the freedom, that comes from mastering your inner world, one thought, one breath, one conscious choice at a time. As Seneca wisely wrote, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient. For he that is so wants nothing. The greatest blessings of mankind are within us and within our reach. A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he has not. This journey isn't just about understanding Stoicism, it's about embodying it. It's about translating ancient wisdom into modern action. It's about waking up to the profound truth that your peace and your joy are not dependent on external circumstances, but on the quality of your choices, your thoughts, and your character. So I ask you, what small deliberate choice will you make today to claim your true happiness? What chains of the past will you release? What present moment will you fully embrace? The invitation stands open, right here, right now. If this exploration has resonated with you, if it has sparked a deeper reflection or offered a path toward greater peace, please consider subscribing to the channel for more insights into living a life of purpose and resilience. And I truly want to hear from you. What is one insight from today's discussion that you plan to integrate into your daily life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your reflections enrich this community, and together we can cultivate a stronger, wiser approach to life.